Do you feel, to use a term, you were sold a pup on this, that you were deluded, you were deceived?
Well, we certainly were misled. I mean, government made this announcement almost on the hoof, and they promised parents just before the election that they would get these additional hours. But of course, what they hadn't done is they hadn't calculated how much this would really cost, what the effect on the sector would be, whether we'd be able to deliver it. So parents are expecting one thing, but the likelihood is they'll get something completely different.
And
frankly.
if you put the word free in anything, everyone claps and whoops and thinks this is great, except, as we've just been hearing from there, it's not free.
There is no such thing as free
There's
childcare.
no such thing as free.
No such thing as free childcare.
So we've got the Government Minister for Early Years Provision on the programme, I think in about an hour's time, actually. I'm sure that one of the things he will say is, well, actually, we're providing this £1 billion. It's a lot of money, and we're giving it to councils, and it's up to the councils to then spread it between the nurseries how they see fit. So why are the councils not able to give you, what is it, £4 something, 84 or something an hour, which I think most nurseries expect to pay, you know, to be able to provide good childcare, but they're not getting that. They're getting £3.60, or they're getting a lot less than that. Well, so why aren't the councils able to provide what it is that the government says they are giving?
Let's go back to the £1 billion, OK? It's interesting. Yes, government argues that they've put in an additional £1 billion. But 5 months before this promise was made to the public, it was interesting that Labour were offering an extra 10 hours, not 15, 10 hours. At that point in time, the Minister said to the House of Lords Affordable Childcare Committee, it's not enough money. Do you know how much this would cost? He said, this would cost at least £1.5 billion. His words, his rhetoric.
25 hours, not 30.
For 25 hours, not 30. So if you add another 5 hours on top of that, my calculation says that comes to £2.25 billion. So by their own admission, they're putting in less than half that's needed.
You know, as Ranveer was saying, we've got this minister on in just over half an hour's time. You won't be here, he will be. Do you see that camera there with a big number 2 on it? Look down that, look down number 2 and just say what you would like to say to that minister.
Well, I would like the minister to make sure that he adequately funds it. It's a farce at this particular point in time. It's a recipe for disaster. And unless we get adequate funding, this is going to fall over and parents will not get the deal that government offered, frankly.
So he comes back and he says, I am adequately funding it. You're going to say what?
But there's no evidence whatsoever that that's the case.
Well, their own minister, Sam Gimia, who was the early years minister before that, said it would cost...
Said it costs, for 10 hours, it costs
£500 million more than they're giving already.
Exactly. So their own admission is there's not enough money.
Are your members telling you that actually, that with business rates, you know, because nurseries still have to pay those, and with, you know, having to pay minimum wage to various staff members, all of those extra costs, and now this not necessarily being free, that some of them can't actually carry on their businesses? Are some nurseries going to fold because of this? They're
already folding. I mean, almost on a daily basis, we're seeing nurseries go by the wayside. Outstanding nurseries, registered by Ofsted as outstanding, closing. In the last few years alone, we've seen 10,000 childminders come out of the sector. That doesn't tell me that this is a buoyant, vibrant sector. A fifth of childminders have gone by the wayside.
Neil, let me just finish with something very controversial. You shouldn't have children unless you can afford them. There may be those out there who would say that, and they would say, look, you brought them into the world, you look after them, you cost them, you pay for them yourself. It's not up to everybody else to pay for them.
Well, it's an interesting debate. We never seem to have that argument when we talk about school children. And yet, in fact, we will sow the best seeds at an early point. So I would argue if you're going to invest, it's in the early years that you should invest, not later on in life.
So the thing is, we're not seeing nursery stage as proper school, and we should.
It's care and education. We use the word childcare, but it's care and education, and it maps the future for all of these children.
So the danger is it's being seen more as babysitting or baby minding, maybe, than care and education.
Well, government might view it that way. Providers don't, Eamon, I would say that.